One driver that wasted very little time endearing himself to the Sunset Speedway fan base in 2015 was the American Dream Scott Wylie out of Hamburg, New York. And the good news for all you Sunset Speedway fans is that he will once again be making that weekly pilgrimage across the border full-time. Scott Wylie is teamed up with Sean McWhorter of Streamline Race Products to put together a brand new race car for the 2016 season. I got him on the line right now. I have to drag him away from putting this new car together. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time, my man. I know that it's getting down to crunch time. You must be so excited to get this car out on the racetrack.
Oh, yeah. We're very excited. Thank you for having me. We've definitely been putting the work in, that's for sure. I've been putting in, no less than 15-hour days pretty much every time I'm here to try and get this thing done. But we're pretty excited to get it out on the track.
Now, you've got a lot of irons in the fire, and so you live in New York. You've got this new car being built in Mount Forest, Ontario. You're also sort of a part of the Holdaway team that's based in Aurelia, and you're working for the Mixed Motorsports team out in Mount Albert. So you must just not know whether you're coming or going most days.
Yeah, I forgot what day it was earlier today a couple times. It's been crazy the last month and a half or so here. I think I've only been home probably 9 or 10 days of the last month and a half, 2 months here. So I got to thank the wife and the family and the kids for understanding what time of the year it is, and hopefully it'll all calm down a little bit here once the season starts. But we definitely been putting in the work. We had a real successful test with Mixed Motorsports at the road course last week. I'm very happy about that. I get to keep my job a little longer on there. And Taylor's car is pretty much ready to go. They're going to be testing this weekend, and we've been working on our new late model here, ready to come out. Hopefully we'll test by the end of next week and shake it down before the first week at Sunset down the 30th. Now,
the fact that Taylor has a relatively new McCall Racing Enterprise chassis, and you have this now brand spanking new Streamline Race Products Wylie Performance ride, is there a chance that you guys will be able to sort of share intel between the two rides, or are they just too radically different for what works on one to be successful with the other?
No, I mean, we'll still be able to share. I mean, I plan on starting very close to the same setup as we have in Taylor's car from last year. Obviously, that worked very well, so we're gonna start there. And we had put something that setup, as much of it as we could, into the 80 car when Taylor drove Sean's Streamline car at the Canadian Nationals, and that ran very well before they had problems. So I'm pretty confident we'll start there and be able to share information. I think hopefully with what we've done, our car will turn even better with the way that we've done some of the front geometry and the rear geometry. But we'll still be able to share information and hopefully get Taylor to buy us a Streamline car for next year, hopefully.
Now, I realize that Streamline Race Products, in terms of building late models, it's still relatively in its infancy. They had their first-generation chassis, which both Andy Camrath and Mike Bentley took turns driving for that car for McWhorter. Then there was the 80 machine, the 80 car that ran full-time at Sunset last year. And I know that there was some reimagining between that first-generation chassis and the second one that came out. How different is your chassis, which, from my understanding, is the third late model now to come out of that race shop from the other two?
It's pretty different. I mean, your base cage and that sort of stuff obviously is pretty similar. But pretty much we've done something different in every part of the car. Sean, he builds great cars and does really nice work. That's why I was excited to team up with him and partner up with him to try and get Streamline a little bigger, here right now than what he's doing right now. And hopefully if we run well, we can do that. But the car's definitely different. I was able to bring some of the stuff that I've learned and been doing with the front end and some stuff in the rear end and just add it to what he's already been doing. And I was pretty happy with the 80 car and the way that handled when we worked on that for the Canadian Nationals, like I said before. So I'm pretty excited to see what our changes have done and hopefully made it even better.
So that ties right into my next question. I was going to ask how instrumental you were in terms of designing this race car before you guys started, welding it all together. And so was this really truly a partnership, a work between the two of you, between yourself and Sean, sort of sitting down and saying, okay, this is what we want to do?
Yeah, absolutely. We always, he would let me know kind of what he's done in the past, and I let him know what I know, which has always worked for the cars that I've worked on. And we're able to see what some of the stuff that's already out there with McCall's chassis and some of the other ones, Port Cities and that sort of thing, and some stuff I've been wanting to try and do a little different that I always felt could go a little further with adjustments than what was out there right now. So, he was great to work with, real easy to work with. We worked real well together, and he kept some of his ideas, and I brought some new ideas, and I'm pretty excited to see the combination and what success it brings.
Now, it's so interesting what we're going to have this year at Sunset as far as the different chassis combination goes. I mean, you're going to have the McCall fleet. There's a lot of guys that run Mike McCall stuff, but then you have guys out there. Dwayne Baker's going to have a brand new Port City car. We have Gord Shepard in a one-of-a-kind Camkey limited late model. We have yourself in this Streamline performance car. So if you were to take a look at all these cars without the bodies on, take a look at them all without their clothes on, would they look markedly different to the naked eye?
I think ours and Hampy's will look probably fairly similar. I'd be interested to see what they've done over there. Not sure if Gord will let me look under the hood over there, but I'm familiar with Hampy stuff. I've run Hampy stuff in the past on our Pro Late and straight rail stuff, so I'm pretty familiar with the work they do, and they probably have a lot of similar ideas to what we had that brought something new. I mean, Mike, there's 4 great chassis out there. I mean, Mike obviously builds great chassis. Port City is a very reputable chassis and does well, and obviously Dwayne always runs real well. So to be added into that mix and then hopefully be, up there as successful as those chassis companies are and try to build towards that is our goal, and I'm excited to see if we can do that.
Now, you're such a common presence. You're such an even keel guy. You don't, you sort of take a look at all this stuff very, very meticulous. But I got to wonder, with us being as close as we are to opening night, the fact that the car is still coming together, I know that you guys are going to pick the motor up this weekend. I mean, are you starting to feel a little anxious? Are you starting to kind of feel the time crunch now? Are you getting a little nervous that maybe the car won't be ready to get any testing in prior to opening night?
A little bit. You have times and periods where it gets a little overwhelming, when you're trying to order stuff, or if, stuff gets back ordered, or, you're down to the wire like this, and Taylor and Fred, are obviously trying to run a business over there, so it's hard to, they can't just drop everything and get what we need all the time, and, trying to balance all that. But I'm pretty confident we'll get it done. Sean's been, working like crazy on multiple cars, not just mine, but it's also been helping me a ton, and as much, like I said, when I'm up here, we're working 17, 18-hour days. My dad came up this week and didn't expect him to come up. He came up to give me a hand and helped us out quite a bit. So I think we're on schedule to do what we want as long as we don't suffer any major setbacks. We have all the parts we need and just putting her together now. So I'm pretty excited because this is a really nice-looking car. It's some of the best work that I think I've ever been a part of, and I'm looking forward, like I said before, to getting it out on the track and hopefully showing people what we've done.
I got to imagine that this time last year, you go back 365 days, you were going into your first season opener as a driver at Sunset. I know that you had worked with Taylor Holdaway in the past, but in terms of having your own program and knowing what you needed to do, I'm assuming you were pretty raw going into opening night. Now that you've got a whole season's worth of notes in your binder, are you feeling that much more confident in terms of knowing what you need to do and sort of having an idea in your head in terms of what setup you want to throw at this race car to try to get to victory lane on April 30th?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm definitely excited to take everything that we learned last year, and I thought we were able to really do well with the car that we had. I mean, I was very thankful that Taylor gave me the ride, and obviously it was his car that he had before, his newer chassis, and some of the stuff on it was older with the stock steering box and stock transmission and rear end and all that stuff. Stock lowers. We were essentially racing a kind of a glorified Thunder car versus some of the newer, all this new late model stuff and the money these guys have in these late models. So, I feel now we're on pretty even par with them, and I'm very excited to get out there. This car should work really well, and I've been doing the same stuff on this car as I've been doing on all the other cars, and they all seem to work real well, and I really can't wait. We talked about it last year. I think in almost every interview I touched on it, that I wanted that new chassis and new car, and I was excited to see if that would propel me that one extra spot in some of the longer distance races and hopefully the weekly races. And I really think that we've got all the parts and pieces. I think it'll work and come together here pretty nicely.
in all the season preview interviews I've done, and I've spoken with a lot of late model guys, from guys like Taylor who had that career year, to Tom Walters who had a bit of an off season last year, and everyone in between. The one constant that I get is every driver has told me, everyone's worked so hard over this off season. Everyone kind of went back to the drawing board. They shook up the Etch-a-Sketch a little bit, and a lot of guys have reimagined their program and shuffled the deck. Are we going to see a radically different division on opening night from where it was when we left off in 2015?
I'm sure you're going to see some different players in the game a little bit. Hopefully us being, more constant up in the top five. Gord's got his new car. We touched on that earlier. I'm sure, Tom is, obviously a legend up here. I'm sure he's, made his program better. Taylor's, kept working on it. We kept working on his car. They've been doing a lot of work over the winter. So I don't know. I mean, with everyone having new tires the first night, I'm not sure that you'll really see how the real picture of how things are going to go throughout the year. I think as you get into the tire strategy without the soak this year and having to manage your tire tickets and all that sort of thing, I think you'll kind of start, week 2, 3 into there where, maybe some of the built motor guys are having to use more, or depending on, with the right rear with them, I think they're going to burn it off a little more. So it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of guys relied on the soak last year. I know when I came and started working with Taylor the year prior, before I was driving, we weren't soaking at first, and we were still able to finish in the top 4 and 5 against the guys that were soaking. So I'm still pretty confident that our setup's going to work. The car's still going to turn really well and without the soak, so I'm not too worried about that. But I think it's definitely going to change up how some of the races. I think there's going to be some nights where there's just cars that are really not handling well until, if they're trying to stretch tires that extra week so that they have them at the end of the year and that sort of thing. I think it may separate some of the close racing, and depending on what week it is.
Now, the fact that this year you have a brand new car that you've helped design, you've, personally laid hands on it from, January to now, putting this car together, and it's really been a labor of love for you. With that said, is your program going to feel a little bit different this year, considering last season you kind of just jumped in the car that Taylor had? It was just sort of, when you arrived on scene at the beginning of the year, it was just there for you. I mean, I'm sure you made your adjustments as the season went on, but there's only so much that could be done. The fact that now you have this blank canvas, are Saturdays going to feel different for you?
I think our expectations will be definitely higher. Last year I was, always hoping to get a top 5 finish well. With the ultimate goal obviously was to get Taylor the championship, and the goal still is to get the championship. But for either one of us, I mean, I'm going for the championship this year myself, and I think we have a good chance to do it. I feel like I said it earlier, all the parts are there. I think we're on an even playing field with everybody now, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think we'll be, I don't want to say we weren't focused last year on my own stuff, but I think that we'll be more focused this year and paying attention to detail. And obviously, we'll have Sean helping with us a little more, and we've worked together and have ideas now on this car specifically and what we can do with it. So I think it'll be pretty good. It's going to be a tough balance. I'm obviously, as you touched on earlier as well, I'm very busy with everything going on, but I think it's just helping me. I mean, I'm getting to work on all these cars. We have great resources over at Kerry's that I'm able to work on and learn more stuff, and it's just helping everything from the guys we're helping, my own stuff, Taylor, and even down into the States, what I'm doing down there, and my younger brother, and so it's going to be busy, but I think overall it's going to be a really good year.
I was looking at some photos on social media from last weekend from the Streamline shop out in Mount Forest, and it looked like it was yourself, Sean McWhorter, Frank Davey, Ryan Semple, the 2 Bentley brothers, sort of all in the same place. Has it developed into a bit of a team atmosphere? I mean, I know the old saying is that iron sharpens iron, and if you want to get better, you got to surround yourself with guys that are going to push you. It certainly sounds like you've sort of found that fraternity at SRP.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool having everybody here. I mean, they have a great shop here, a lot of room, a lot of resources, and it's it's nice to work in a shop where you have everything you need and you don't have to say, I got to go over here and do this with that guy and go here to get the work done. And having, we've had Ryan's car here, and we had Mike's still here, and we had Matt's here, like you touched on, and Frank's car, and it's nice to kind of, I'm not too instrumental in everyone else's cars right now, but you offer a hand or a word here or there to Sean or whatever, and sometimes information gets over. Not too much to Mike since I'm racing against him. But, I'm looking forward to racing with him. He's obviously a good racer and, has won championships and is aggressive, probably a similar driving style to myself. So that'll be interesting to run against him this year. And but it's pretty cool having everybody here. Everyone's really cool to work with, and I really hope Brian does well. He's put a lot of work in over the winter here, and shout out to Colton was here working on his car, Evernham, and said he had a really good test the other day. So I'm happy with that. He seems pretty happy with everything, and I just like it up here. I enjoy the racing, and business is taking off good, and hopefully we can keep producing results.
Has it struck you as maybe just the least bit ironic that so often people in Canada, Ontario especially, look to the United States as the promised land in terms of, the state, the racing is so much better and it's more competitive and there's more tracks and more cars. But an American like yourself could sort of cross the border going the other way and find a pretty decent living for yourself in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, does that blow your mind at all?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to think about, that transition and how it all come together here. I think around Western New York racing, as we touched on in the last interview, the racing is, I don't know if it just got stagnant or what, but there's just no market for, people that want to pay to do setups there, and everyone thinks they're their own, which, not to say anyone's not smart down there. There's a lot of smart drivers and smart guys that are setting up cars down there, obviously. I don't want people to take that the wrong way, but there's just not a lot of guys hiring people to do that sort of thing down there. Whereas up here we've had a lot of results and I've been able to come up here, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm somebody different, than the norm. I mean, everyone either goes to McCall or, Hanley or these guys, and we've been able to be somebody new on the scene and produce results right away and do something with Taylor that I don't know if anyone will ever be able to copy, with the year that he had last year. So, it's been pretty cool and very special. And like I said, I thank Taylor for giving me that opportunity, because it's propelled me into to making a pretty good living, as you said, up here. And hopefully we can produce some really good results at the NASCAR level with mixed motorsports, which is a really cool challenge that I'm happy to take on this year, and hoping we can get Mark and Kerry and Adam some really good finishes. So
I feel like short track racing in Ontario right now, it's almost like an arms race, and everyone's out there trying to get on the cutting edge and trying to build that better mousetrap. And every once in a while, a new face or a new name will come on the scene, and if they can get on a heater, if they can start, really performing very much like you did last year with Taylor Holdaway, where it sort of allowed you to make a name for yourself, you can go up and sign a lot of clients in a hurry. And next thing you know, it's you can sort of take the fast track to establishing yourself. And it really feels like that's sort of the direction you're headed in for 2016.
Yeah, I hope so, and that's why I teamed up with Sean. Like I said, we've had a lot of resources here. I personally don't have all the resources that I could bring across the border, and a lot of guys don't want to go across the border to come down to me, just to avoid that hassle. So this has really been a perfect match for me. And like I said, he does great work before. We're producing results already. As I said, with Colton's car, was really happy in the practice. I think people are going to be surprised, and hopefully we'll get some new business, whether it's putting clips on or chassis, building new chassis for next year for the limited lates, or we're also working with the track to become a dealer or a chassis builder for the metric cars as well, for the Thunder cars, to be able to do that. I believe McCall's able to do that right now. We've got a couple of people interested in those. So, just trying to elevate everything. We're Sunoco dealers now. Motor State dealers. We can get all parts, trying to get the parts deal going, trying to get the fuel deal going. So it's it's been busy trying to keep all that and work on the cars and do all that. But I think we're starting to get some traction, and I'm looking forward to see where the year goes. With this brand new car, with this restructured program, you just sound more focused now than you were, when I started talking to you at this time last year. I can hear the confidence in your voice. It's clear that you guys are loaded up and ready to make that deep push into the championship season to try to make a run at that title. With that being said, how important or how instrumental to your championship run is a win or a podium on opening night? We've been talking about it. It seems like it comes up every day that we need to have that good finish right out of the box to kind of set the tone for the year, and that's the plan. With the new tires, the built motors may be tough in the first time trial of the year, but I still think we can be right up in there. We were always able to time trial pretty well last year, so I think we'll be in the top 5 and hopefully be in the top 3 in both races on opening night would be a great success, I think, for us to come out of the box strong.
Now, the fact that tire soaking has now been eliminated, does that at all change how important time trials are? Does it make them more important? Does it make them less important? I mean, does that kind of change the way guys are going to approach qualifying?
It'll factor into it for sure. I mean, obviously you're not going to want to, if you don't have to come through the field to burn your stuff up, that's just easier on your tires, and more tire tickets you can save for the end of the year. I think the soak helped with that, where you could just buzz up through and not worry about abusing them too much, because it would make them last a little bit longer than it will without them. But time trialing is always important, but I think that definitely plays a role into it, because you're not going to want to be pinched underneath somebody for trying to come up through the field for 30 laps in the first one and have nothing left in the second one. And it's just definitely going to, we already have a tire strategy in place that on paper that, I think will work out, but you know how that goes. I mean, it can change throughout the season, but I think if we stick to our plan and run well, we'll be able to follow through with it.
It's good to know that you have some marketing partners signed for the 2016 season. You've been able to kind of link up with some new folks. You've brought back some existing sponsors. So go ahead and give a little shout out to the folks that are coming back and are brand new for your program in 2016.
Excel Racewear is, we're still on board with their fire suits and safety equipment. Obviously, Sean bringing on Streamline Race Products and working with him is more of a partner really than a sponsor, but essentially we've been able to use some of his resources, so that helps. Kart Store Toyota has joined on with both cars. Bay Auto we got a big sponsor with them coming out with Taylor. And some other sponsors to be named here very shortly in the next couple of days. So I'll let Taylor roll that out. That's kind of his deal. But we'll cover both cars, and that's about it for up here. So I'm looking forward to obviously Holdaway Automotive. They're my main sponsor. And of course, I got to put them last. But they're my main sponsor. Fred and Taylor have been great to me. They're super busy at their shop, and they're still able to help me kind of keep going. And Taylor's in the process of buying a house and all that. So. He's been stressed out and going crazy right in the beginning of race season here. So I really got to thank them for the effort they're putting in to kind of keep this rolling. And like I said, I'm looking forward to getting on the track, man. I can't wait.
Well, I'll tell you, you go back a year, opening night 2015, both Gord Shepard and Josh Stoddy both came out and sort of put an exclamation mark on their performances. I'm not sure how many people were counting on either one of those drivers to win on opening night. But they did it. They did it in a big way, and it kind of set them both off on a pretty good campaign. Gordy had a little bit of a stumble in the middle, but he finished strong. All that started on opening night. There's no reason why you can't do the exact same here in 2016. If you were able to do so with a brand new out-of-the-box race car, would be an even more interesting narrative. So I can't wait to see what you have in store for us. And I'm looking forward to checking back in with you after you get a little bit of testing time under your belt to see how the new car reacts.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me again, and I'm looking forward to working with you all year and keeping people updated on our progress throughout the year and what we're building here.
There you have it, folks. The American Dream, Scott Wylie with a brand new race car. He's set to roll April 30th for the Sunset Speedway season opener.